Alright, so in a lot of my previous videos in the past few months, I keep bringing up this exorcism case that happened 13 miles away from where I live. Today actually just so happens to be the 88th anniversary of this exorcism beginning. So I just figured I'd put a video out. I've been thinking about it, talking about it. I've never made a video about the gematria of it, but basically this story is the first famous exorcism that happened in the United States. It's also partially based off of, or the movie The Exorcism is partially based off of this story. If you look up the movie and the book The Exorcist, it's actually based off of a story from 1949, the Robbie Mannheim case. But in the movie and whatnot, and a lot of the details where her head spins around and she's climbing on the ceiling, none of that stuff happened in the Robbie Mannheim case. It happened in this case. So this exorcism is partially the reason for the book and the movie. And the more and more that I look into this story and I see the gematria and I see some other interesting patterns, I don't even believe this story is real. That's not to say that exorcisms aren't real and everything else, because I've seen some crazy stuff in my life. I'm not a non-believer of it, but this story is, if it's not a hoax, then all of it happened by the numbers, just like everything else that I talk about. If it's not a hoax, it's still happening by the numbers, and there's always these amazing patterns that happen in the story. So let's look at the story here. So another reason I mentioned it was because I used to work in the town called Harlan, Iowa, and I used to have to drive through this town every day. It always kind of gave me the creeps anyway, whether it's real or fake. The church is just creepy looking. Supposedly in this church, there's scratches on the wall and whatnot. They paint over them, and the scratches end up coming back. I've never seen it completely for myself, never been in the church, so I don't know if that's just people making stuff up or what. But I guess a long time ago when I made this, I was at my machine at work and it jammed for the first time of the day after I had 666 documents. So kind of weird. But anyway, one of the things that really makes me think this story isn't real is the fact that the girl has two names, and every place I've found, nobody knows for sure what her real name was. It's either Emma Schmidt, and this was her pseudonym, Anna Eklund, or the other way around, or they have no idea for sure. So right away the story seems a little fishy that she has two names and nobody knows for sure if either one of these names was her real name. Also in the 1949 case, the other story that the book and the film The Exorcist was based off of, that boy had two names as well, Robbie Mannheim, also Roland Doe. So just kind of interesting, Robbie Mannheim even has gematria of 74, the word Masonic equals 74, Roland Doe equals 88, a number that I often see around satanic rituals and whatnot. Emma Schmidt, I don't know, 45, 108. I've been talking a lot about these numbers in regards to 1871 in Chicago, but I don't know how it really would tie into this story. Anna Eklund is pretty fitting because the exorcism that happened in Erling, Iowa, she was 46 years old, so who knows? You know, this is the name that you find most often, too. You don't find Emma Schmidt. If you look it up, you'll find more stuff if you type in Anna Eklund. So the exorcism takes place when she's 46, and her name equals 46. Erling, Iowa, located on 41 degrees north, 95 degrees west. An interesting number location. The word skull and bones equals 41. If you write out Erling, Erling equals 66. And if you write out the word 66, it equals 41. Also 149. Skull and bones the big way equals 149. Skull and bones seems like a fitting topic for an exorcism and whatnot. If you write out the word 33, the highest degree in Scottish Rite Freemasonry, it also equals 66, just like the town. Also, the highways. This town is very small. It's like 400 people. The two main highways are Highway 37 and then Highway 191. And both of these are pretty interesting in regards to it, because 37 is one of these special numbers that, like, if you take 1 plus 1 plus 1, it's 3, and then if you times it by 37, it's 111, a lot like 111. So also, 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals 18, and if you take 18 times 37, it equals 666. So, just interesting. They have Highway 37 that goes through it. Also, Highway 191 reminds me a lot of the Jesuits. Society of Jesus equals 191. Pope Francis was the first Jesuit pope. Also, the reason Pope Francis is the pope is because Pope Benedict quit or whatever, he retired early. His real name, Joseph Ratzinger, that equals 191. And the reason that sticks out is because he was 14 years old in the year 41, and the priest who did this exorcism ended up dying in the year 41. There's a whole lot of 14 and 41 in the story. I've also always wondered about 191 in regards just to 91. It's 91 both ways. If you write out 91, it equals 121, like the word revelation. Also like Valentine's, that I see connected to a lot of events throughout, just tons of stuff connected, it seems, to Valentine's Day. And Valentine's falls on the festival of Lupercalia, where they celebrate and sacrifice the wolf and celebrate death and whatnot. Also, this story, so the exorcism happened in 3 different sessions, and it finally came to an end on December 23rd, 1928, which just interests me because that's during the winter solstice. And in Gematria, winter solstice also equals 191. And just kind of interesting that an exorcism would end during the winter solstice, when we get the story from the Catholic Church that that's Jesus' birthday on Christmas. The sun goes down and then it rises 3 days later and whatnot. So I just find that kind of interesting. It happens during the winter solstice. Also, in regards to 191, the town is named after a guy named Albert J. Erling, and he became the president of the railroad on 9/23 of 1899. 9/23, a very special number in regards to Pope Francis's visit last year to the United States. He came on his 923rd day as Pope. The next day he went to the White House on 9/23 at 9/23. And a whole bunch more in regards to that, but sticking to this story, this guy was born on January 19th, 1848. You can write the date January 19th as 19/1. It also makes sense as 119, and I'll show that in a little bit. This guy also dies on November 10th, which is my birthday. This year it will be the 91st year after his death on my 34th birthday. So I just found that kind of interesting, maybe nothing. Also, in regards to Pope Francis, this exorcism took place at the Franciscan convent. Just kind of interesting. Pope Francis, he's the first Pope Francis, and he took his name from St. Francis of Assisi, the guy who received the first stigmata. And then, that's who the Franciscans are named after, and this happens at the Franciscan convent. So just kind of interesting. The 88th anniversary happens when Pope Francis is the Pope. At the very end of the exorcism, the priest yelled, "Depart ye fiends of hell, begone Satan." That equals 141. So interesting. Once again, a lot like the mirrors, 14 and 41. There's some other things in regards to 141. World War III equals 141. But I also see 41 and 91. It seems like I see them a lot together as well. But let's move on here. So it also says that it took 23 days for the demons to leave her body. It did start on August 18th, but they did 3 different sessions for a total of 23 days. If you write out the word 23, it equals 55, just like the word Satan. One of the demons or the humans that was possessing her, here's a list of them right here: Lucifer, Beelzebub, Judas, her father Jacob, and her father's stepmother, who everybody said she was a witch or whatever. Her name was Minna. So, just interesting. Took 23 days, 23 equals 55, Satan equals 55, Judas equals 55. Judas Iscariot equals 149, just like Skull and Bones. The Skull and Bones number 322. If you write out 322, it equals 55. It even ends in December, right? December equals 55. Christmas equals 55. I also said that part of the reason that she became possessed was because her father's mistress, her name was Minna, and she was supposedly practicing witchcraft. Witchcraft equals 111. But also witchcraft equals 666, because anything that equals 111 also equals 666 in English gematria. The priest then was Father Theophilus Reisinger, and notice he died in the year 41. He was an exorcist. The word exorcist equals 41. His name also equals 111 the small way, so it doesn't actually equal 666. Still interesting, it's 111. There's also something very significant about the word marathon in the story. This priest here, the priest who did the exorcism, he came from Marathon, Wisconsin. That's where he became an ordained minister on May 29th, 1899. Interesting, the 149th day of the year, Skull and Bones equals 149. 1899, also the year that Albert J. Erling, the guy who Erling, Iowa is named after, became the president of the railroad on 9/23. But in the story then, the girl, Anna Eklund, she gets an exorcism in Marathon, Wisconsin when she was 30 years old, and supposedly that exorcism didn't work, so they later thought it was a good idea to send her to Earling, Iowa, because Reisinger was friends with another priest that was from Earling, Iowa, and he thought it'd be a good idea to send her there. Well, the funny thing is, it's Marathon, Wisconsin, and Earling, Iowa originally was even called Marthon, Iowa, and the reason they changed it was because there was already a town called Marathon, Iowa. And the only thing that I can think of that's significant in regards to this is the word God equals 26, and a marathon is 26 miles. Also, God in English gematria equals 156, and if you write out the word 33, it equals 156. Also 66, we'll just write it out really quick. 33, 156, 33, also equals 66. And interesting, if you write out the word marathon, marathon equals 90, which is a very special number in regards to Freemasonry. If you write out 90, it equals 33, and also 87 the big way. If you write out 87, it equals 58 and 139, just like the word Freemasonry. So just pointing that out, probably one or both of them reasons. Also, marathon the small way equals 36. And if you sum 1 through 36, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, it equals 666. So fitting for the story. Also interesting, this priest then, he dies on November 9th, 11/9, and the founder or whatever of Erling, Albert J. Erling, he was born on 1/19, a lot like 119. Star of David equals 119. All-seeing eye equals 119. This priest also born on 2/27, the 58th day of the year, once again connecting to Freemasonry. Also, the 227, a number connected to pi. 22 divided by 7 is pi. And I'm not going to go into the big old spiel, but pi in a big old circle, it actually connects back to 666. The last 144 digits after the decimal of pi sum to 666. Also interesting, the priest dies on a date numerology of 80, and he's from Marathon, Wisconsin, that equals 80. So the story here of Anna and Emma was when she was 14 years old, she first showed signs of being possessed, and that was in 1896. Once again, 96, interesting year. The word Freemason equals 96. But she was exorcised 16 years later on a date 6/18/1912. And this was when she was obviously 30 years old. The date numerology of that date equals 55, like Satan. If you take out the 19, it's even a date numerology of 36, once again connecting to the 666. There's also a book then that was written called Begone Satan that is all about this story that supposedly came from the journals of this guy Theophilus Reisinger. And Begone Satan equals 618 in English gematria. 618 as a date also, or just in general, 618 is Phi, which is connected, Phi, the golden ratio. I don't know a whole lot about it, but it seems like a lot of stuff always goes back to it. If you write out Phi in gematria, Phi even equals 33. It's just something I've always told myself I was going to look more into, and I just never got around doing it. But interesting, it's super important for whatever the reason. Also, if you write out the word 14, so she was 14 when she first showed signs, 14 equals 41. Erling located on 41 degrees north. So the second exorcism is when she was supposedly freed from the demonic possession. She was 46. Her name equals 46, or at least one of her names. The first one that happened was 16 years after she first showed signs at the age of 14. Then the next one, from 30 years to 46, is also a span of 16 years. If you write out 16, it equals 33 and 96. Both numbers connecting to Freemasonry. 16 years equals 56 and 164. If you write out the word 56, it equals 55, like Satan. If you write out the Exorcist, it equals 56 and 146. So just interesting. 16 years, pretty special to Freemasonry. Also the word 16. She was free of possession then after 23 non-consecutive days of exorcism, and it took place 32 years after the first sign of the possession. So interesting, 23 and 32, the mirrors. Also, the second exorcism was in 3 sessions, a lot like 2-3 or 3-2. If her name is Emma, Emma equals 32 and 14, both numbers fitting to the story as well. So, like I said, Father Reisinger, he sent her to Erling, Iowa, because he knew this guy, Joseph Steiger, who was the president, or the priest in Earling, Iowa. And anyway, look at the gematria of all this. She went to St. Joseph's Church, St. Joseph's Parish. Joseph Steiger equals 66. St. Joseph's Parish equals 66. Erling equals 66. And a third priest that was helping with the exorcism was Father Berner, that equals 66. And remember, 66 equals 41 and also 149, just like Skull and Bones. The date that it began, the second exorcism, it began on August 18th, 1928, that equals 164. If you write out 16 years, it equals 164. It also started on August 18th, which is 8/18, or also 18/8. It came to an end, just interesting, I know it's not the same, but 18 weeks in one day. It just has the 18 and the 81 in it. The day that it ended, December 23rd, 1928, equals 188. It begins on 18/8. So William Peter Blatty then has the book, The Exorcist, that he wrote in 1971. Notice that he was born on January 7th in 1928, the same year that this exorcism took place. January 7th, though, can be written as 7/1. He writes this book in 1971. He was actually born exactly 32 weeks before this exorcism begins. His name in gematria, 223. The synagogue of Satan equals 223. The word Masonic in Jewish gematria equals 223. He was 43 years old when he wrote this book. Exorcism equals 43. It also equals 106. The word prophecy also equals 106. Also 322. The skull and bones number, the mirror of 223 equals 106. And how interesting, I talked about how I used to drive through this town in order to go to work, but I actually quit my job, and the last day that I drove through this town was on June 10th, which can be written as 10/6. I just find that pretty interesting. Also, like I said, The Exorcist equals 56. Linda Blair plays the possessed girl in the film. She was 56 years old at the time that I had made this post. Now she's 57. Linda Blair in Gematria, though, just so happens to equal 46, which is interesting. The whole Exorcism in Earling, Iowa is about the 46-year-old girl named Anna Eklund that equals 46. So, like I said, this story does not make that much sense to me. Absolutely coded by the numbers. Just wanted to make a video of it. I've been meaning to forever, so I guess what a perfect day to do it on the 88th anniversary and whatnot. But have a good one. Peace.